Assalamu alaikum and welcome to ReUSEful, the series where we show you how to reuse what you already have and turn it into something truly useful. This season, we've reupholstered an ottoman, sewn a tote bag, made practical items through resin art, personalized a nightstand, and decluttered with shoe cabinets. Every project has taught us something new about slowing down, following our own style, being patient, and finding joy in the process. For our final project of Season 1, we'll be tackling our biggest project yet. So Nusrat, what are we doing today?
Assalamu alaikum, Maida. So today we're going to be working on this accent wall. So a lot of times in our homes we have this one wall or one spot that's just sitting empty and you don't know how to decorate it, what to do with it. So I'm going to be showing you how to apply some wallpaper and add some nice trim just to give it character and also make it a focal point for our houses.
Okay, awesome. This looks absolutely terrifying, but like always, I am going to trust the process.
Yeah, you'll be surprised to know that this is one of our easiest DIYs, even though it looks pretty big.
Okay, I'm going to trust you with that.
Okay.
So what do we need to get started?
So for this, we're going to be using some peel and stick wallpaper that you have right there.
Okay.
We also have a beadboard right here. We're going to be adding to the bottom of the wall, some trim.
Okay.
And then to apply that stuff, we're going to use a nail gun. We'll use a level to make sure everything is straight.
Okay.
And we'll also be using some wood filler and caulking to fill in any holes.
Okay, exciting.
And a final coat of paint for everything at the end.
All right, to just tie it all in.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So how do we get started?
Okay, so we'll start with the wallpaper first. So this is just simple peel and stick wallpaper that you can get online or at any hardware store.
Okay.
It's basically just like a big sticker.
Okay.
Right? So we're just going to apply it. So for this, we have a straight line. It's level. And we did that using this level. So how you make your line straight is just you put this against your wall and then just make sure that the bubble is right in the centers.
Okay.
So a lot of times in our homes, our walls are not straight, believe it or not.
Oh.
Yeah, even in brand new builds, like if you have a corner of the wall and you put your level, it will be a little bit wonky. So you don't want to start the wallpaper there.
Okay.
So you're going to find a kind of a middle point, make a straight line, make it level, and then we'll start off with this.
Okay, awesome.
Because the first panel is usually the most important. If you have that like a little bit wonky, the rest of the panels are going to follow along as well.
Okay, so we're just kind of building off the first one
Yes,
then.
for sure. And then this is just like a big sticker, like I said. You can just peel off a little bit at a time.
Perfect.
So if you hold that corner, and then I will peel off a little bit of this. And you want to work in small sections. Don't peel off the entire roll, because then it will just be a sticky mess.
Okay, yeah.
And then we're just going to align it with the wall right here.
Okay.
And then you just stick it straight down. Yep, just the corner.
Okay.
And then I'll just put this here. And then I'm just going to grab our tool. This is just to push down any air bubbles.
Okay, like this.
So yeah,
right
like
here.
that. So I'm going to re-peel this. So peel and stick wallpaper is pretty beginner friendly because you can peel it a few times to align it.
Okay. I can tell that this is a little thicker, like it's not very flimsy.
Right, it's a little bit thicker than the contact paper that we used, just so it doesn't rip. And it gives you some time to kind of align it and just go nice and slow, just like that.
Okay.
And if you feel that you're going a little bit crooked,
Yes.
you can peel it back off and then just kind of reapply it again.
Okay.
And then we're just going to work with this and just pushing out the air bubble. So you do have to be a little bit precise with this, with the first panel especially.
This reminds me of the resin art that we did.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about how they always make it look very easy online.
Right.
But there is so much precision, and you really have to like slow down. And this is the same thing because online, when they wallpaper something, it's just such a quick, easy, like one-step process.
Right. You really have to take your time and kind of finesse it just to get a nice finished project.
So you can pace yourself, you know?
For
There's
sure.
no rush.
Yes, there's no rush. And if it takes you a week to wallpaper one wall, that's perfectly okay. Just with managing our time as moms, like we won't be able to get everything done right away.
Yeah, exactly.
So just like that, then I'll just toss this, and then that gives us a nice smooth finish. And then we'll align a second panel over here, and then I can show you how to align the pattern as well.
Okay.
So just like this, you can move this up or down to match the pattern. Like for
Okay.
example, if your pattern is matching up here, you start from here, and then you can cut off the top extra part.
Oh, okay.
Right. So but our pattern is kind of matching right over here. So we'll
that's
start with
nice.
that, and then we can just peel off the back. And then try your best, obviously, to align it, but it's okay if it's not perfectly aligned. Let's see, right here.
This is where our perfectionism
Yes, I
comes
know.
in.
So we have that's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
But from far, it always looks nice. And I think if it's a little bit off, that's totally okay. No one's going to come up and try to
Yeah.
find your seams in your house, the wallpaper seams. And then here you can take that and then kind of push the bubbles down.
Okay.
And then I'll start peeling this off the back. And then
You know,
Just
that's
like that.
another thing I learned in this journey is that just being a perfectionist, like sometimes you have to let that go, and no one's going to be examining your
Right.
home with such a critical lens.
right. And there's also different kinds of wallpaper. So we use a peel and stick. There's also like a traditional pasted.
Okay.
That's a thicker material. And you buy a separate wallpaper paste and you brush it on the back. I
Okay.
feel like that is also pretty easy to use because you have more time to move it around as well.
Okay.
And that's also a good option as well.
Okay, so there are different options if you find this hard.
Right, yes. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good. We got all the air bubbles out.
Nice.
Yeah. So this was just to show you how to apply the wallpaper, but we've actually done the back.
Oh,
so let's
awesome.
turn that
Okay.
around and we can see how it's looking. Yep. And there we go.
Oh, very
Yeah.
nice.
That's looking really nice. And obviously we started from the ceiling. You would start from
Yes.
the ceiling.
Okay.
And then you can just cut off any extra with the X-Acto knife.
Okay.
And then we just came to like kind of the middle of the wall. And then so the next step we're going to be doing is painting the trim. That's going to be the transition
Okay.
between the bottom, the beadboard, and the wallpaper.
Okay.
So let's just protect our area with a drop cloth. And I'm just going to move these items just out of the way.
Good?
Yeah, I think that's good. So if you can just grab the trim.
Yes.
This is going to be the transition piece between the wallpaper and the beadboard.
Okay.
So let me grab the paint. We're using this color right here.
So why are we painting this right now?
It's actually easier to paint it while it's on like the table and versus when it's on the wall. Like
Okay.
if I had already nailed it on, we would have to paint around the wallpaper and we would have to be kind of careful not to get any paint on the wallpaper as well.
Okay.
So I feel these steps are all interchangeable. So like you can paint this first. You can even paint the beadboard first.
Okay.
And then just stick it on and then fill in any holes that we have.
Okay. So like whatever works for you for, your time constraint.
Yes.
Okay.
And this also kind of reminds me of the ottoman that we did. So we stained the legs first, and then we did the fabric. But you can obviously change that as well. You can do the fabric first, depending on the time you have. If you have like 10 minutes, do the fabric.
Okay.
Versus if you have a little bit of longer, like 30 minutes, half an hour, you can do the legs first.
And I think that really helps, especially when you're new to the DIY journey,
Right.
because it can feel so scary to start a new project.
Right.
However, if you, kind of like compartmentalize the steps.
Right, and break it down into easy, manageable tasks.
Exactly. That way
Right.
you're not like overwhelmed by how many steps there are.
Right.
Have you ever made like a checklist when you're doing DIYs?
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that keeps you on track as well.
Okay.
And also just be like, okay, today I'm going to work on this part of this project.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow I'm going to do this. And then it also keeps you on track with time management. As moms, we're like so busy. We have so many hats that we're wearing.
Yes.
So in that time, I just figure out what I need to do and get it done quickly.
Yeah.
So we're just going to make sure the front end is painted as well, this top part.
okay.
Because that's going to be sitting on the wall. We'll see that. That's like kind of at eye level.
Okay.
And then also this bottom right here, all the
Okay.
bottom edges are painted, and also the side edge as well.
This is a really pretty color.
It is nice. And this is a nice quality paint, so I think we only need one coat with this.
Okay.
But if you find that your paint is looking streaky, wait for it to let it dry maybe 10-20 minutes.
Okay.
And then you can go back with a second coat, and that really gets rid of any streaks that you may see in the paint.
Okay.
And then just the grooves right here. You see a
Okay.
little bit of white
Yes.
you missed? Yeah, and then just with your brush, you can also go in the grooves in there.
Okay.
Yep, that looks good. Okay, so this is looking good. We're just going to let it dry on the
Okay.
floor off to the side, and then we'll work on attaching the beadboard to the wall.
Okay, awesome.
So next we're going to be working on the trim. So this is the beadboard trim we're using.
Okay.
We already have it cut to size from this hardware store. So let's just put it right here.
So the beadboard, like you can buy it like this?
You can buy it like this. It comes in like a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet.
Okay.
It also comes in smaller panels if you just need a small panel. But if
Okay.
you buy the big panel, you have them cut it to size there, and then they
Okay.
can cut it for you. And it's easier to carry home as well in your cars.
Okay.
And then we're going to be applying this with the nail gun. So let's grab that. That's the nail gun right there. I'm just going to grab some nails. Okay, yeah. So it's a little bit heavy,
Okay, yeah.
but this is my favorite tool to use. It's really fun. This is where you put in the nails. We're using 2-inch nails.
Okay.
Just because to go through the thickness of the wood and the wall, we're using that. But it comes in different nails. You can use different nails for different projects.
Okay.
So you just put in the nails right here. Make sure the battery pack is off.
Okay.
Then I'll just do a little bit more.
Is this kind of like the stapler gun?
It is. It's pretty
Okay.
simple. So the nails these are called brad nails.
Okay.
So they're pretty thin and they make a really tiny hole when you put them in. So it's easy to fill as well.
Okay.
And then you just close that up like that. Add the battery pack. And then that's ready to go. So let's
Okay.
move back here. Let's put this straight flush against the wall. And then first, I'm just going to tack in a few nail holes on one side.
Okay.
And then we'll do that side because you see it's kind of bending a little bit. So
Yes.
you kind of need to hold it in place.
Okay.
And then with this, the light turns on
Okay.
when you push it in. And it's easier to put in the nail holes inside the grooves. So it's easier to fill those in versus like if you put it right in like a flat part, that's more noticeable. So we're just
Okay.
going to start right here. You push it in, you see a light, and then
Oh,
it just
wow.
goes straight in. And then I might need to adjust the settings a little bit, just so it goes fully in and it's not sticking out. Okay, and then so do you see if you let go from there, even one nail is holding it in place.
Okay.
But we're going to do it a few nails right here. Push, and it goes straight in like that.
Okay.
Right there, and then I'll do one here, and then you can have a go. Okay. So that's looking good. And then we're just going to go put in nails all the way down just so it doesn't move off the wall.
Okay.
Here, you want to have a try?
Sure. That sound, I did not expect it to be.
Yeah, the sound is pretty loud.
It's,
You
it's
want
like
to
a
make
big
sure,
bang.
yeah, your fingers are away from where you're putting it on.
Okay.
And if you want to wear glasses, that's totally fine as well. So maybe
How
try
low do you
putting
want?
it. You can go. We're gonna go all the way down. So like maybe 4 or 5 all the way down, just so it sticks on. So
Okay.
you can just go anywhere for your first one.
Okay.
You push it in. Yeah. There
Oh,
you go.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then walk, and then we can do a whole line going this way.
This is really fun to use.
It's fun, right? Yeah.
It's also like very
One way.
quick.
Yeah. So see, this seems so much easier than some of the other projects we've done. Yep, there you
Yeah.
go. And then we're gonna go all the way down, just nailing these in. And then you can see it's already pretty adjusted on the wall,
Yeah.
but just to make sure. And then if you don't have a nail gun, you can keep going.
Okay.
If you don't have a nail gun, you can also use construction adhesive.
Okay.
It's like a glue, you stick it on the back, and that will make it stick as well.
Is this something, if you don't own it, can you rent it?
Yes, you can definitely rent these. So let me
Okay.
push this here. Okay, looks good. You can rent them for sure.
Okay.
You can borrow from a friend. You can also even use hammer and nails.
This was really fun, Nusrat. Just
Right.
like going through it. It was
Right.
easy. It was fun. I could keep going. And in the beginning, I was like, this is such a big project.
Right.
You know, fun and easy didn't really come to mind. But you know which project I thought was the most difficult?
Which one?
The tote bag.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even though it was so small, I
Yeah.
thought like the sewing.
Right. I think it was more intricate and complex. Like you had to make sure
Definitely.
all the seams were straight, and then you can also see it's difficult to hide like wonky seams.
Yeah.
With this, you can hide. There's so many options of hiding different things and hiding your mistakes as well. So I think
I
that was just
agree.
more intricate.
I agree, but it was also the most rewarding
Right.
because we created something out of completely nothing.
Exactly.
So that was definitely worth it.
Okay, so I think our trim that we painted earlier is dry. So the next step is putting that on the wall.
Okay.
So let's just get our gloves on just in case it's a little bit wet.
Okay.
And then we're just going to sit it on top. If you can just hold it right on top of the beadboard like that. Flush with it, yeah.
Okay.
Right there.
Is it going right to the end?
Right to the end, yes.
Okay, maybe I need some
a
more.
little bit more.
There.
And then just push it down, flush again. And then again, you can make sure it's level.
Okay.
But we have already have it cut level, so we know that this is pretty level too. So if you hold it, I'm just going to grab the nail gun.
Okay.
And then it's the same step. We're just going to be putting in a few holes. And then for the trim, I find that if you go a little bit crisscross, it holds it better. So if I put one nail in like this, a little bit angled instead of straight, it will hold it a little bit better. Like that. And then you can do another one like this. So behind the wall, the two nails were like form an X.
Okay.
And it's just a stronger hold.
Okay. I didn't know you could hold the gun at a
Yeah, you can hold it at an angle as well.
Okay.
And then just a few holes with nail guns will make it. Okay, there we go. And that's holding it on.
Awesome,
That looks
really
good.
nice. This trim reminds me of the trim that we added for the nightstand,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
When we were doing that, I was like, oh, this seems like an unnecessary
Right.
step because it's just like another step, you know?
Right.
But
But it really elevates the look of it.
Oh, for
It
sure.
would look fine without the trim as well. But once we added the trim, it really elevated it. And the trim comes in multiple different designs. There's like fluted trim, there's like thinner trim, or even thicker trim if you're going for like a different look. So you can pick any design that goes with your house. And then so all of these nail holes that we made, we're just going to fill it in with some wood filler. So it's just this little paste.
Okay.
You kind of go in, you push it inside the nail holes.
Okay.
And then you can wipe off the extra, and then it will dry white.
Okay.
And then we can just sand it, and then we're ready to paint.
Okay, cool. And you know, when we were doing the nightstand, you know, cutting the trim,
Right.
it was, you know, it was difficult.
It was a bit
at
difficult,
first.
right?
But I think it was just really nice that we did add that because we learned a very valuable skill.
Right.
And we used a tool we had never used before. So it was definitely worth adding the trim, and in the end, it just looked so much prettier.
Yes. Okay, so now that we're done filling the holes, you can see that the pink one is still drying.
Okay.
And then the brown ones where it changed color, that's ready to sand and is completely dry.
Okay.
So I'm just going to grab a couple of the sanding blocks, and we'll just sand off any of the extra.
Okay.
So that we just get a nice smooth finish for the paint.
Okay. So we can't leave it like this, eh?
No, we can't. If this is not the look we're going for.
Nusrat, this looks really nice, but I do notice there's a bit of like this gap. Do we leave it like this?
Right. No, we can actually caulk this. So
Okay.
it comes in a tube like this. And also, like if you got smaller panels, like if you were joining two panels together to cover the seam in between them, this caulking is great.
Okay.
So it just comes in a tube. Let me just open that up. And then you just cut the tip off, and then you just make a nice straight line in between, and it'll fill in any of that gap.
Okay.
And then with your finger, you just kind of push it in, and you see that, and then it'll get covered
okay.
by paint.
Okay.
So this is like paintable caulk, so then it'll just make it a more seamless transition.
Okay. And it dries right away, I can tell.
Yeah, it dries pretty quickly. It's just the fast drying one.
Okay.
And then you can just wipe it clean, and then in between the grooves as well, you can just take your finger and wipe it clean like that.
Okay.
Here, do you want to
Yeah.
do that?
I find that small things like this make such a difference.
Right, in the finishing of the project,
Yes.
it takes it from like a DIYer to kind of like a little bit
Yeah.
more elevated.
Yeah.
Once you kind of the last 5% of the project, I feel like a lot of people sometimes just give up after doing like majority of the work.
Yeah.
But once you fill in, like do all the nice finishing touches, it really elevates the look of your final project.
And also it's easy to use.
It's easy, yeah. It's just another easy step.
Yeah.
And then once you've had that, and then you just go over with your finger. Or you can also, I found that baby wipes also work really well. And it wipes it pretty nice and clean. And then if you also notice that there's a gap between your wall and the trim, you can also do a line of caulk right at the top.
Okay.
And that will make it seamless as well.
Okay.
And then if you see any like little holes right here, we can fill those in again with the caulk.
Okay. A lot of these things that we've learned, they're very forgiving. You know, it's not just like you get one chance only and you have to perfect it.
They are, yes. And there's like a tool to fix any mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get the paint back on. We'll just lay on the table, just like that. Just a little bit. Yeah. So now that we've already painted the trim, but we just have to do a couple of touch-ups where we did the wood filler. And then for the grooves, we're going to be using a paintbrush.
Okay.
It's just easier to get into these grooves with the paintbrush versus a roller. And then for the flat parts, we'll just go over it with the roller.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna give it a go.
Yeah.
You know, Nusrat, just yesterday actually, I came across a passage in An-Nisa, and it really resonated with this entire process of like our DIY journey. And they were going over the names of Allah Ta'ala, and the three names that they highlighted were Al-Khaliq being the creator, Al-Bari being the maker, and Al-Musawwir being the fashioner. And the analogy they gave for those three names was that of a home. And they said that Al-Khaliq was like the architect, Al-Bari was like the builder, and Al-Musawwir was the designer.
Okay, wow.
You know, so the one who made it pretty once it was all created. And I just thought that was so beautiful, and it was so true to what we've been doing.
Right, that's really nice how you can kind of connect Alamia to everything that you do, even little home projects.
Yes.
You can connect that and take it back to Allah Ta'ala, right?
Yeah, and like whatever we do, we find Allah Ta'ala.
Right, you can find Him in anything that you're doing.
And it was just such a, it brought everything back.
Right, and it just makes every project that you do, even like the little home DIYs, it just makes them more meaningful.
Yes. All right, so while we finish up, how about we go take a look on the ways in which we can style a space.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our media room. When you're designing a space, there's various different elements that you could incorporate into the design process. You have to think about texture and color and lighting, as well as temperature in terms of, do you want the space to feel warm or cold? So we chose to go with this silverish gray color on the walls, which was a happy medium. And then we complemented that with the darker blue, which is from the same color family. But again, having done all of that, we realized that it was becoming a little bit more too much on the cold side. So we complemented that with this wood-looking veneer countertop just to bring in that warmth. You know, organic materials like wood certainly do that. And we echoed that and repeated that in the floating shelves behind us as well. And then to add to a little bit of whimsical fun, we complemented it with the gold decoration pieces, as well as the red refrigerator, which injected a little bit of vibrancy into the whole space. The projector is obviously a very key focal point of the room, but we chose to complement it and to add a design element by introducing the slat wall. Just to add that little bit of depth and dimension to the space. The other key elements that we focused on was with respect to the lighting. Every space obviously has overhead lighting, but it's important to add, to layer in lighting. So we did that through the under cabinet lighting behind me. The only issues that we found was with respect to sourcing the various items that we wanted to incorporate. It's not always a case where you create the mood board and then it just comes together seamlessly. So we had to source the various sofas and the seating, as well as the rug. And it is a real process. It takes a considerable amount of time. In this space, it took us approximately, I would say, 6 months to pull it all together. And that is how our media room came together. I appreciate your time, and Jazakallah.
All right, Nusrat, now that we're back, this looks amazing.
It does.
It's really, really pretty. So what are we doing?
So for the final touches, we're just going to be adding a frame. So I have this frame, it's just a floating frame, and then I'm just going to show you a quick hack of how to add it to your wall.
Okay.
So instead of like usually we would measure the distance between the two, figure it out, how far we need to screw, but an easier hack that I recently learned is this: if you just cut the tape right there between the two hangers, just like that, cut that straight, and then you take a marker and then you just mark where the middle of each one is, so right here, and also right there. Okay, and then we're just going to tape this onto the wall.
Okay.
Make sure it's level, and then just drill straight through this.
Okay, so it takes the guessing out of it.
Exactly, so I've already made a mark which is between halfway in the wall, and then let me also just center this as well, just to see where the middle of this is, right here. So at this point, we'll put it in the middle of the wall right here.
Okay.
Just like that, and I'm just going to make sure that it's level.
Okay.
And then you can adjust it accordingly. No, so we need to bring it down a little bit.
Want me to help you?
Yeah. You can hold the level.
Yeah.
And then I'll just adjust. That looks good. Just straight on the tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks level.
Okay.
So then we're just going to drill the two holes right where we made the mark.
Okay.
And I'm just using the same drill we used earlier, and just with a drill bit.
Okay.
That's a little bit thicker, a little bit less thicker than the nail that we're using. So I'll just be drilling a pilot hole first. Just like that.
So this is very similar to the shoe rack we did.
Exactly. And then we drill the pilot hole just so that it's easier. It doesn't split the wood, first of all, and it's easier to get the screw in.
Okay.
But each wall is obviously different. Let me just finish this one. Okay, that's good. But each wall is different. So if you have drywall, you want to make sure that you use a stud finder to find a wooden stud behind your walls and drill into that.
Okay.
Just so that it's secure on the wall and doesn't fall off. But according to your wall, somewhere they have brick walls or different kind of materials. So based on your wall, just pick the correct anchors. And if you can't find a stud and if it's just drywall, then make sure you use the correct anchor.
Oh, okay.
So this is just a good tip to hang something securely and not
so it doesn't
using
fall.
any thumbtacks anymore.
That seems like a personal attack. I definitely use a lot of thumbtacks.
Okay, I'm gonna just put this up.
So same thing, we're just holding it straight like when you taught me in the shoe rack, right?
Exactly, and then just go nice and slow all the way. And then just leave a little bit out to hang the picture frame on.
I love this tape method. It just made it so much easier.
It did. It cuts out all the measuring.
Yeah. And usually hanging is like a back and forth. Like you go, you check it, and you go back to it.
And then just peel the tape off like that.
Very nice.
And then we can hang. Okay. So we have the little hangers, so I'm going to go on mine, and then you just kind of go on yours.
So using this drill machine is very similar to like when I used the drill for the shoe stand for the first time, right?
It's the exact same process. Same drill, one drill will do like multiple jobs.
Okay.
And
same thing, hold it as straight.
As straight as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's on, and that's looking nice.
This is beautiful, and I love how it's straight, and we just did it in one go.
And it was so simple to do.
Yeah, no, it looks amazing. Honestly, Nusrat, you know, when we started it off, I was like, oh, this looks like an impossible task.
Yeah.
But like you said, it was a lot easier than I expected.
It was pretty simple.
Yeah, and we took our time with it. We slowed down, we did it in steps, and it's not only is it a very doable task, but also very enjoyable.
Right, and I hope you feel confident in going to your house now and doing some of these DIYs that you learned with the skills that you've learned.
I think a little too confident. I'm thinking of all the things I can change in my house now.
For sure.
And you know what a journey it's been. When we started, I was so worried about even just measuring.
Right.
And now I was able to use so many of these electric tools and stuff, and it was it's amazing.
And they're pretty simple and easy to use.
Yeah, exactly. And that fear, that initial fear, I think has been gone. So now I feel a lot more confident, and also just learning how simple some of these things are.
Yep, that's amazing. I'm going to come over and see what you've been working on.
All right, Jazakallah Nusrat.
Jaza.
Dear viewers, Alhamdulillah, what a journey this season has been. From the nightstand to this accent wall, every project has taught us more than just a skill. These aren't just DIY lessons. They're reminders to be grateful for everything that Allah has blessed us with. Jazakallah for joining me and Nusrat on ReUSEful. We hope you feel inspired to reuse what you already have and turn it into something truly useful. Inshallah, we look forward to seeing you again in Season 2. Until then, keep creating, keep reusing, and keep making your homes meaningful. Be sure to follow us on all of our social medias at MTA Canada. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.